Hello y'all, I am back again for another video, and this video is going to be about polygamy and the polygamy abuse tactics, and me just sharing my perspective on what I think would be a better way and what I've noticed and seen and things like that. And you're going to see a lot of information regarding polygamy, which means someone being with more than one person, sometimes married to them, or usually in what they would call marriages or whatever. So I'm just going to give my perspective based on some things I've been hearing and just share with you what I think would be a better solution to this issue and problem, because it is a problem. I consider it a problem because I am against polygamy, and I think that it's a form of a bad way of doing things. Okay, so first I want to clarify this, y'all. When I give my perspective, things like okay, well, there's a lot of stuff that's used against men and women. Well, you don't have a woman, you don't have a man, you're single, you're this. That has nothing to do with the perspective and education and what you've noticed in life. Also, I am a evidence person, and I have just kind of been waiting and waiting to find the perfect video. And I went back and I started watching some videos of a gentleman, and he has like a British type of accent. So I am going to post his video under the description. And so you'll see the link where you can press that link and it'll bring up his video. In the video, he talks about why not to go back to an ex. So listen to this first before you watch him. And he talks about this. Okay, let's go over this first because I actually took some notes. Okay, so I consider polygamy a form of an abuse tactic. And the reason I say that is because a lot of elements of it and the way they speak about it kind of remind you of abuse situations. It just does. So, one of the things that men that are encouraging polygamy will say, and I heard a YouTuber say this, the gentleman said, let me word it, his belief. Okay, his belief is that if a woman has had children before, different baby daddies, and she's not a virgin, how can she tell him that he can't have other women and have more than one woman and be committed to more than one woman? He speaks about being committed to more than one woman. So my answer to that would be this. And that's something that abusers will do. They will use your past against you. I think from what I've heard, it's also used against women that have been into prostitution and things like that. For example, like she may marry and the man may make her feel like he has a right to call her whores. He has the right to call her the B word. He has the right to call her stupid, sluts, and stuff like that because she was a prostitute. So I'm just using that as an example because there's many different backgrounds that women may come from outside of being a baby mama or being married more than once or having several children by several different men. But this particular gentleman, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have different baby daddies or more than one husband. Just the fact you have had sex before, you're not a virgin, and all of that, no matter what it is, you could just have one of those issues. He feels like a woman doesn't have a right to be committed to by him. He's speaking of himself. She doesn't have a right to have a commitment with one man if she's seen him, if that makes sense. So that's his perspective. However, this is the thing. A relationship is a very private thing. It's private. So at the end of the day, when a man and a woman are in the bedroom together, it's just them two. It's very private. It doesn't matter if they had their elderly parents staying in the house or kids or anything like that. And another thing, these type of men that have these polygamy abuse tactics type of thinking, they've also been around the block a few times too. Okay, so for me, my thing is this: what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So, what makes him so special? Like, if he feels like a woman that is not a virgin and all of that doesn't deserve for him to be faithful to her, I would feel the same way about him. And he has a wife. He has a wife and several children with his wife. And she tolerates it and puts up with it. However, I can see the victimization of her. I feel like that's a victim, okay? But he feels like other women are victims. He may feel like if you're not married and you single, you're a victim. And so using your past against you. So just in general, whether you be male or female, so for guys and men that are listening to this video, I want you to switch your gears to understand that anybody that's using your past against you and making you feel like you don't have a right to a certain thing, item, or feeling or emotion or commitment, and they're using your past against you for a current situation. They're using your past against you to deny you of something currently, okay? Or currently or now. Whatever you need now, they're denying it because of your past. And so it's kind of like the credit report thing. You're not a credit report. Okay, let's get that straight. So that's handling a human as if they're a credit score or something. Like you can't get this car because your credit score is low. So yeah, using your past against you. What else? Okay, he feels like men are not monogamous. Some men are not monogamous. And I'm just going to tell you my perspective. And I've watched it for many, many years. The truth of the matter, in my opinion, most men are not monogamous and faithful is because since the beginning of time, since the first man and woman was on this earth and planet, men decided to teach this behavior through displaying it. So it's a behavior in my mind and in my opinion. Being a cheater is not natural. It's a learned behavior. It's just like stealing, okay? Is stealing and killing natural? No, it's a learned behavior and it's an anger management behavior. It's someone that's not controlling their temper. So if someone goes out and kills and steals, and they're really in general normal, but they do this abnormal thing, they're not really a killer or a thief. They're someone that's not using self-control. Some of the best people have killed and stole. So they're not controlling themselves. If they're stealing, they're greedy. And if they're killing or they have killed, just say one time, and they're not like a serial killer. Now, serial killer, that's something different, but it's not even in the serial killer's nature. It's a serial killer has a lot of mental problems. This is somebody that's bored. This is somebody that's lonely. I truly believe this. This is somebody that's over time detached from society. Also, serial killers, believe it or not, they were curious, y'all. Let me see what it's going to feel like to strangle a woman tonight. Okay. And then At some point it became addictive. It became they became almost like possessed. That's how Ted Bundy describes it anyway. So I'm just going to describe it some way in the way he says it. He may not use the word possessed, but something took over him, and those were the demons. So okay, so I feel polygamy is an abuse tactic. I'm going through these notes. So the gentleman, the YouTuber, also mentions that um, this is another abuse tactic, right? And he mentions that a 65-year-old woman, like nobody's looking for a 65-year-old woman to marry. Okay, I'm just a pure evidence person, y'all, and I'm just going to be honest. I feel like more 65-year-old women, they're not getting married if they're single because a lot of them don't want it, y'all. I have went to a wedding of a 65-year-old woman. Okay? So I feel like if a 65-year-old woman wants it and that's what the Lord has for her, she will have that or he will have that. A man can have it too. So that's another abuse tactic when people are telling the audience that they can't have something. Um, okay, let me see. He says that men are not designed to be monogamous. And the video link of the gentleman that's talking about this in the video, he's going to explain why being a cheater is just not in his nature. And I'll tell you some of the things he says. So fair use, y'all, because I'll be repeating what he says. So men are designed to be monogamous. I totally disagree with that. Men are designed to be monogamous just like women are, but it's a choice. It's about the greedy spirit. It's about prayer. It's about control. It's about respecting your partner. It's about empathy. It's about love. So men are absolutely designed to be monogamous. I do not agree with the YouTuber's concept that they're not, and I'm going to give you proof. Now, you may say this, well, that man don't sound like a black man, he's British. I don't know if he's necessarily a white British man. He could be a black British man. I have not seen his face. So as far as I'm concerned, hearing his voice, he could be black or white. I'm not sure. But most likely you would decide or come up with the opinion that he's Australian, British, or something like that. And hearing the accent, so let's assume he's a British man and he's of white origin. So let's just assume that. So you may say, well, he's not a black man. It doesn't matter. And see, that's the thing. A lot of this cheating and polygamy, that's a cultural demon that's been passed down through communities of color, and it's just very bad. Um so he tells women, quite a bit. He mentions it here and there that they're not going to marry in this lifetime. Be very careful with that. Even if someone doesn't see that they're being abusive, telling people what they're not going to do, but yet recognizing that there's a Lord or there's a God, just watch out for that. Because, like I said earlier, I believe a lot of people don't have it because they don't want it neither. So he mentions that he would walk up to a woman and tell her he got a few children and he's married, but he wants her too. Now, I think due to his background, he got that little hood in him. He was raised in a big city. And I also want to point this out, and this is not to be discriminatory, y'all. So, the YouTuber that's talking about this, he comes from a background where his mom, he mentions his testimony of how his mom struggled with crack addiction, and the Most High cured her from that. She got off those drugs, so when she died, she was no longer on those drugs. So from a spiritual standpoint, in my opinion, when there's any type of drug addiction, especially when someone has a parent that was on drugs, whether it be their mother or their father, and that person raised them, there's a lot of demonic activities that can go on. So, say for example, the lady or the mom was on crack and she had an abusive boyfriend or something, or one of the dealers was kind of like a cheater pimp type person. Things that women go through when they're struggling with crack addiction and things like that. So that's a demonic energy that can come off, or what would be the correct word? That's a demonic energy that could attack children. So a lot of times when you look at somebody's background and look at their culture, it can explain why they feel the way they feel. So, okay, so let's go on to, because I took some notes of the gentleman, the video that I put in the description. So he refers to himself as a hopeless romantic. When he was growing up, he liked romantic movies and comedies. His mother was married 30 years, married around the age of 15. And then his grandparents were married 50 years and married around the age of 15. So he feels like cheating taints a relationship, and it does. It goes back to, like I said, it's private. So he mentions that he's loyal and he feels that disloyal people have karma. He mentions that cheating is not in his nature and he struggles to understand it. This was his exact words. The gentleman, if you look under the description below, you can watch the video. And he referred to a friend that cheated regularly that bragged about it. So that's why he brought this up. So the British gentleman, I'm just going to call him British because it sounds like a British / maybe Australian type accent. So he said that he's a traditional conservative. Okay, so I would say that's what I am. Okay, I'll call myself that too, because a conservative, I knew that it was a word that I hadn't used in a while that kind of would explain this mindset. So, okay, somebody that believes in the polygamy abuse tactic, because that's what I'm going to call it, y'all, that's what it is, they're not a traditional conservative. So, see, somebody that's even considering, because I consider it a form of exploitation. I don't care if women are signing up for it. But the gentleman that believes in polygamy that I was mentioning in the beginning, he believes in the right kind of woman, putting up with that and teaching men and women to be committed, or teaching men to be committed. So he claims that these men should be taking care of these women and be committed. And then he also mentions that the Black community misses structure. And I'm like, wow, if they miss structure, in my opinion, polygamy is not structured. That's why why did the Black community lack a lot of structure? It had a lot to do with infidelity and cheating, along with many other demons. So adding more cheating around, because that's what it is. That's what polygamy is. It's a way for a man or woman, because I've seen videos where the women feel like they can have a bunch of husbands, but let's just say in general, the man is choosing to be involved in polygamy. He's just trying to figure out a way to cheat God, and he's not going to cheat God, because at the end of the day, A lot of these polygamists, they're trying to use the Bible or some form of religious materials to figure out a way for them to think they're going to heaven along with having a bunch of wives. It's like cheating in a game. You're trying to figure out how to cheat the game. I don't think it's going to work with the Most High. And then when I watch his videos sometimes, I love his content. You know, this particular YouTuber, he exposes a lot of stuff, and I like some of his work. It's just in some areas, in the polygamy area, I don't agree with it. And another thing I don't agree with is a lot of times he'll call women concubines. And he explained on a recent video what that was basically, because I thought it was just somebody like kind of like what a man would think is his hoe on the side or something like that. I'm sorry, his hoe on the side, or a loose woman. But he actually explains a concubine as that's the other woman he's committed to that he takes care of and sleeps with or something like that. But just the fact, I think concubine, I think that's a horrible word to call a woman. And I think it's a horrible thing to be saying when you have daughters too. And I think it's just not a good thing. Sometimes I feel empathy for his wife and all of his daughters, because I commend him on trying to be a man and a family man, and he is doing that. He's providing for his wife and his kids and his daughters and stuff like that. But I don't know if they watch his videos. And to be honest, I'm gonna just be honest. As many videos as he's uploading, I don't see much time he has to cheat. I just don't. I don't. I mean, he's uploading all throughout the day, and it takes a lot of time to prepare the videos. But I just think polygamy is an abuse tactic, and don't allow anyone to tell you what you can't have, because that's up to the Lord. So, in this video link that I've pasted, copied and pasted below, will give you a different perspective, because just consider this, you know, if it's so deep in your culture where so many men are talking about polygamy, maybe switch to a different culture, you know. Maybe at that point, if you just in your race and that's all people are offering is for you to be cheated on, check out other cultures and see what they offer. You know, there's a lot of toxicity in all relationships, even if it's interracial, but that's the time where you should consider stepping outside of your race. And then this gentleman below in the video that I linked, he always says, you're never going to be good enough for the wrong person. And I do agree with that. No matter what, if it's the wrong person, they're going to cheat on you and do all kind of stuff. Let me see. Yeah, and I just love the words he used, like hopeless romantic. And I also like how he described the type of stuff he watched when he was younger, like romantic movies and comedies. So he wasn't raised to watch a lot of demonic stuff. Like he wasn't watching horror films, pimps up, hoes down documentaries. So, and he came from parents, his mom and dad married young, and they stayed married. So see, it didn't sound like there was any drug addictions among his parents or his grandparents that he ever mentions. So see, he was raised around traditional conservatives. So it proves my point. See, it's all about how you're raised. And he mentions it's just not in his nature. Okay, so it's not in his nature to cheat. It's not in his nature to be with more than one woman. And it, in my opinion, the men that are doing it It's not in their nature neither. It's something that they decided to do and they're taught to do. And maybe for some men, that's how they feel their nature is. Their nature is to be with other women and more than one of them, but they're just being greedy, y'all. That's what it boils down to. And it's a polygamy abuse tactic. I've had a couple of men talk to me about it. And it's so funny to me that what's funny to me is how a man could even bring up having more than one woman, and he barely can take care of himself and is actually living in a woman's house. The primary woman he has, he's not even married to, living in her house. Some of them are living with their aunts and uncles, grandparents, and they're talking about polygamy and they struggle to take care of themselves. I was watching a video of a sister and she was saying that what's offensive about it also is that one part, a man, he has a wife and he's struggling to take care of the kids he already has. And then she also brought up this, everything that they've built together between them and their kids, he wants to go get another woman and she reaps the benefits of what the first wife built. And that's a good point. And I never looked at it like that, but it's all deceitful, y'all. And it all has created so many problems. It's nothing but cheating. It's a fixed up way of cheating. It's like playing chess or checkers. They are just trying to figure out how to do it and get away with it. And the YouTuber that believes in this type of thing or whatever, I think he would be a much better man if he stopped doing it. I think that he would have better luck if he stopped doing it. I think that the wife he has would be happier if he stopped doing it. I feel like he would have a better result with his daughters when they grow up if he stopped doing it. I see good nature in him, the YouTuber that has this belief system, but that's just one of the things I just don't agree with. And I see in the long run, it could hurt his life and his family's life. And I just think that it's a bad way to go. And he has a right to do what he wants to do. Now, one thing he does do, he says, you have to be the right kind of woman to do that, and I definitely agree with that. And I don't see teaching polygamy as adding structure. I just don't. It's just basically saying, okay, well, let's just give up. We won't fix cheating. We won't fix having all these different children that nobody is going to take care of. Let's just, not fix the problem. That's basically what it's saying, y'all. We're just not going to fix it. And I don't think that's helping nobody's community. I think it's a trained behavior. And they're just continuing the training. And that's why so many people that are dating interracially, because people are just getting tired of it. So I just want to show you the other part of the world and how background can affect things. So I explained the YouTuber and his background, and that was a powerful testimony. I'm not saying it to say, okay, well, I'm not talking about nobody's mama that suffered from drug addiction that passed away. I just want you to understand there's a lot of different elements and it's a lot that goes on. And when there's drug addiction, there's a lot of cheaters around. It's guaranteed cheaters around. Because that's all a drug dealer is. He's a cheater. If it's a woman that's a drug dealer, she's a cheater. She's cheating the Lord. She's cheating God. she's hurting people or he's hurting people. Whoever is soliciting drugs, they're hurting people and harming lives. So they're all cheaters. So see, you're around a whole cheating environment. And then you grow up, and then when you have a mother that's drug addicted, she's cheating too, because she's cheating her kids out of a better life. She's cheating the kids too. For one, choosing to go spend money on drugs instead of putting that money into her children. And this particular gentleman mentioned that even though his mom was on drugs, she took care of them. However, that's still money that's going to drug dealers that should be going to the children. But he seems to care about his mom and love his mom, and she is passed away. And she seemed like she tried her best. I learned many years ago when I looked up drugs and stuff that crack, it images your brain. So even if you try to get off of it, it like puts an image on your brain that basically tells you to keep smoking it. So it's one of the hardest drugs to break free of. And that's why it's better not to try that stuff. And so his mom did get off of it before she passed away. But I see a element, I've seen people all throughout my life that was into addictions, even if they were directly in my life or just watching them from afar. And that cheating element always was involved because that's what goes along with drug addiction. Versus the British man, he was in a different environment and raised different. And so I just want to encourage y'all to avoid abuse tactics and know what they are. And anyone that's telling you what you can't have, just reject it. Telling you that you're just not going to get married and stuff like that. And that's up to the Lord. And like I told you, I went to a wedding of a sister that got married, and she was 65 years old, and her husband was around the same age. So, and they're still married right now to this day. So they probably are what in their 70s now. So, because I went to this wedding several years ago, and they had been together for a while before they got married. But I just thank the Lord that I was exposed to that kind of stuff. So I know and understand how the world really works, so that when I hear certain things, I just don't take it so personal. So, y'all, I'm a conservative and I'm traditional, and I don't agree with polygamy. I don't think it solves anything. I think in rare cases where there's some form of genocide, if the community agrees to do that to try to increase the population, maybe in those instances. But I don't even agree with that. Why can't the population just increase normally? Who's to say that the population has to be 15 to 20 people coming in the world every month, or however, every week or whatever, or however many people that they want? And and there's also another thing. A lot of times when people have these views on polygamy, they put people in certain roles. Like women were just put here to be mothers and to have kids, and that's just what they're here for. And it just doesn't apply to all women. Some women were absolutely not put here to have kids. They just weren't. Some women cannot have kids, will not have them, and it's the same way for men. So a lot of people, when they have these very rigid views on polygamy, and they have the polygamy abuse tactic, is what I'm going to name it in my mind, because it is an abuse tactic. It's just an abuse tactic. It's for one, telling people they not gonna get married, they gonna be single for life and stuff like that. And that's part of the poison. That's why so many women and men, they just stay single. So see, that's the thing. If you stay single, you're not part of the poison. It has nothing to do with you, right? It's like you're not in the race, you're not in this game. And then what you get to do, you sit back and you watch the sickness from afar. You just do. And I'm gonna tell you this too. I'm just gonna be honest with you. This is how I feel because I watch married people, right? I feel like if a man or woman was truly happily married, and I'm talking about for real happy, they wouldn't be telling other people what they can't have or can't do. If somebody is just really happy and content with themselves, why do they think other people's lives in that area of their life it's impossible for them to do something? I believe if you really want to be married, you'll make it happen. But I think the way to make it happen is to be more traditional conservative. And to me, that has to be in your nature. Okay. My grandmother was married a very long time, very, very long time. And same thing, like that big number that this gentleman in the video, that 30, 50 year thing, very, very long time. Many people in my family was married a very long time. Some people in my family didn't marry at all. Some had kids, some didn't. So I'm glad I was around that diversity. But here on Advanced Insight, put in your mind what you want, put it in a folder, and put in the work for getting it. So if you, I don't care what your situation is, if you want to be married or you want to have something in or someone in your life, put in the work. Talk to the Lord about it. Do your prayers. No man or woman can tell you what you're not going to get. The Lord decides what you're going to get. And that's why I call it the polygamy abuse tactic. And I don't know if the YouTuber, the gentleman, understands that's what he's doing is abusive, but it's very abusive. And it's just not good. Am I going to say everything that he does on his channel is abusive? No, I just don't agree with that polygamy abuse tactic. And also, he mentioned on some videos way back that if a woman doesn't believe in polygamy, she doesn't believe in the Lord. That's absolutely not true, too. I very much believe in the Lord, but I do not agree with polygamy. And I don't even think it's from God. I don't. I don't think that has nothing to do with God. I think that's some man made stuff. That's some man made abuse. I think it's going to cause more problems. And it's not biblical. The Bible says one man and one wife should be married. I also don't agree with all that adultery stuff, y'all. How it talks about if you divorce and you remarry and you're committing adultery. I don't believe in that neither. And that's just something that I've just recently kind of decided. Now, adultery to me is when you're cheating and you're married, you have a wife or a husband and you cheat on them. That's adultery. But all that Bible stuff saying if you divorce and as you to the day you die, you can't marry again. If you marry again, that's adultery. I think that's man-made too. Why would the Lord give you a life and you with somebody? That's why he gave you a life. Because if you with somebody and it don't work out and you remarry, the Lord wants you to move on. Because that would almost be like that man or woman is like your God. So if the way the Christian Bible explains it, or the Bible and the Christians word it, because that word is not really biblical to be calling yourself a Christian. The Bible says to call yourself a believer. So if That's almost like you making somebody your God. So if I'm married to a human being and he's a man, and you're married to a woman, if you're a man, and if it don't work out, you can never marry again for the rest of your life. That's making that person you was married to your Lord. So that's my proof right there that it ain't right. So just be careful with a lot of this stuff that's written in the Bible. Use your logical thinking, and you'll find that some of that stuff makes no sense. I'm even thinking, I done thought so deep, y'all, that a lot of those marriage vows are demonic. You almost, though, a lot of those marriage vows, to death do you part, you almost signing up for that person to be like your master. It's like your husband or wife is your master. And then you wonder why there's so much abuse that goes on in marriage. I don't even know if a lot of those marriage vows, I think those are man made. I don't even know if the Lord would approve of that. Just like we got another case right now where um, one of the famous singers, Rihanna, her baby daddy or her significant other that she has her first child with, he wants to marry her now. And her dad is not in approval of it. Now, we already know the play, y'all. Famous black woman getting married. Look at what Steve Harvey's going through. Famous black man got married. Now his wife is going to be divorcing him, taking half of his money, so they say. So it's just no good coming out of this. I mean, it's a financial scam. That's what I want to point out. Marriage has become a financial scam. I was watching another video where a lady divorced her husband and he got served with divorce papers. The day of court, he went and shot her up and killed her. So she never even made it to court. So just start looking at marriage a little different, because once it's put on a paper trail, it just can go all demonic. It's very costly, y'all, even for somebody like me that's just regular income. Like I don't have a wealthy woman's income on that level, right? And it's just costly. Divorce is costly for the famous and regular people. And so once you've seen enough, you've seen the play. Like Rihanna, she should marry her baby daddy, because we already know what's going to happen to her, right? She's going to have to pay that man out all that money. It just goes in line just like this. She marry him, they get divorced, he going to try to take custody of the baby to get more money. Just like the thing that's going on with Holly Berry, y'all. Same type of stuff. So let's just wisen up, or get wiser, y'all, and start using our logical thinking so we can protect ourselves, and just be very cautious of the polygamy abuse tactics. And gentlemen, you know how I feel. And if you're believing in polygamy or you're cheating right now, I encourage you to change that behavior, and you can do it. It's no such thing that just because you're a man, you have to be a cheater. You can change anything you want to change. And I think better luck and blessings will come to you if you're a man and you decide to stop believing in polygamy. May the Lord bless y'all. I love y'all so much. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you. Bye.